Over inserting yourself, the inner fixer, the people pleaser. I want to fix and help others so that I can be seen as the nice girl, the good girl, the girl who's always there for people. And it's not like that's not a nice thing, but it's like at what expense if you're doing that constantly, right? It's at an expense for yourself, and it's at an expense for the other person. Earl Grey teen hen, comfy Sunday clothes. We are on the next episode of the Body Brew series. So get yourself a hot beverage, find yourself comfortable seats, and we're going to chat about coexisting versus codependence. How do we all view that? And what do we feel when we think of the word codependence versus coexistence, you know? I know how I feel about it, so I'm just gonna give you my point of view and talk about it in the context of friendships, because I feel like, you know, as a collective, building more friendships, building more supportive connections outside of our family dynamics is really important as well. So really, we're going to be talking about loving with edges, because loving with edges when it comes to family dynamics and relationship dynamics, it's very important, but it's still just as important with friendships as well. Last week, someone close to me that I loved was really stressed, and my inner fixer just immediately leapt up to assist. You know, the stress was coming from that person, that loved one, not from me, but yet I was the one leaping up automatically like a reflex from obviously previous habits to attempt to fix that person's stress. But instead, I tried something different. I grounded, which is another option. I landed before I moved, which we talked about. And I dropped into the body with a few simple breaths. Just simple breaths. Nothing major, just slowing down my exhales. And I asked myself, do they want a solution? Or do they simply want company? Or do they want to be alone? Do they want to deal with that stress themselves? Because if I'm there always helping them when they're stressed, they're not going to deal with it themselves completely, are they? Because I'm there. You know, I'm inserting myself. I'm depending on them and needing to know what their emotions are, what their stresses are. Then how's that giving them space to evolve and figure that out for themselves, right? This is something I used to do, and it's still like that default response that I notice. It's not that I still do it often, but I do notice it. And when I do notice it, I'm aware of it, so I correct it. I ground, I land before I move, and I ask myself, do they need support? Do they need alone time? Do they need a solution? And ultimately, I don't know this, but by me stopping and asking the question, it's what creates that healthy boundary, you know, loving with edges, creates that healthy boundary for me to take a step back and consider what is it that they need. And then I ask them that instead. I say, how are you feeling? Okay, if they open up, okay, do you need anything right now? Do you need me to listen to anything? Do you need to talk anything out? And then if they do you need a solution to that? Do you want me to help you with that? Rather than just offering unsolicited advice, unasked for advice, right? Over inserting yourself, the inner fixer, the people pleaser. I want to fix and help others so that I can be seen as the nice girl, the good girl, the girl who's always there for people. And it's not like that's not a nice thing, but it's like at what expense if you're doing that constantly, right? It's at an expense for yourself, and it's at an expense for the other person, because not only are you putting your energy into other people constantly by doing that, by being the fixer for other people, but you're also enabling them to lean on you as well. So there's that co-dependence. I depend on knowing what they're feeling and what they're doing. And I also depend on helping them so that they know they can depend on me, so that I feel good about myself. You know, that's what creates the dependence. Whereas coexistence is having that boundary while still staying connected, still being in loving connection. That's what loving with edges to me is. So I ended up going up to this person the other day because I could see that they were stressed. But again, I didn't want to over-assert myself. I didn't want to create a dependence on needing to know. So I said, how are you doing? And instead of over-inserting myself and offering things and doing things constantly, what I ended up doing was just hearing their answer. So much more simple. I'm making the connection, but I'm not depending on their answers to then dictate the rest of my day, dictate their moment, and even making their moment a part of my moment. You know, there's a difference between sharing the energy of another and simply interacting and observing the energy of another and being okay with that step back. In fact, embracing that step back, because that step back is a chance for you to go back into yourself. If you are not paying attention to others, then who are you paying attention to? That's a big question to ask, right? Like, who are you paying attention to when you're not paying attention to others? And then you're left with yourself and you realize, oh, am I even comfortable being like paying attention to myself? What's that? Let's explore that, you know? And that's where, depending on helping others and therefore enabling them to depend on you, can be a distraction. It can be a distraction from you working on your own stuff. So this is where codependence can actually be enabling issues for you just as much as for the person on the receiving end. And this is where coexistence is. Coexistence is like, hey, I've noticed this and I'm a friend and I want to make a connection. So I'm just going to ask, how are you? And if you feel open to giving me the deep stuff, that's great. I love going deep, but I'm going to listen to what it is you need. Even if I pick up on things with feeling, with senses, with intuition, that does not give me the right to then make assumptions of how they're perceiving their world and tell them, well, I'm picking up on this, so that means that's what you're feeling. And that makes it right in your world just as much as it makes it right on my world. I had a friend who would do that, where they would, claim all kinds of psychic abilities and try and tell me how I'm feeling, that I don't really know it yet. And that felt so invasive and intrusive, but I allowed it at the time. And when you take the step back, there's that lack of codependence, and it actually becomes a healthy coexistence. We're existing with one another. I see you. I don't assume what you're going through, but I see you. Let's connect in a healthy way and ask each other, how are you actually doing, without making the assumptions and without overstepping and giving unsolicited advice or making unsolicited moves for them, thinking that that's what they need. This is where assumptions can be tricky, and this is where assumptions come into dependence. So moving forward, I vowed, and this is why I'm also posting this as a part of the Body and Brew series, I vowed to always check in with myself. Where am I right now? Land before I move. I've noticed something in that other person. Do I want to make a connection? And if I do I want to make a connection in a healthy way, or am I going to go straight to assumptions and straight into fixer mode, So this is something I've been working on personally. It's something I love, the topic of friendship dynamics, and it's not just something I'm going to be implementing in friendship dynamics, but also within family dynamics and also within my loving relationship with my partner. And let me know what you think about that. Let me know what you think about the difference between codependence versus coexisting. If you've experienced anything similar, this is what the Body and Brew series is all about. It's like sitting down, drinking a nice brew, getting cozy, and having some real deep chats, some real philosophical chats. And this is what the Body and Brew series is. It's like pouring your hot beverage and letting that be you, pouring some self-you time, some introspective time for yourself, pouring it all into you. And as you drink your tea, you're pouring that time into you. Some reflective times, which is why these chats tend to be a little more deep, a little more embodied. Hence the Body and Brew series. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have any real thoughts, questions, things you want to share, experiences, different perspectives you would like to bring to the table, feel free to let me know in the comments below. You can even direct message me if this is on Instagram, and I will see you in the next episode.